If you look at the glorious history of the Boston Celtics, the names that come to mind, right? Russell and Sam Jones, Bird and McHale, Pierce and Garnett, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. A history of dynamic duos that have come through this great organization. And yet, the duo of Payton Pritchard and Derrick White did something that no other Celtics duo has ever done before. It was the first time that Celtics teammates had each scored 40 points in the same game in the franchise's history. They did that last night. And it was the first time that two teammates had ever gotten their first 40-point games in the same game in NBA history. It was 43 for Payton Pritchard, 41 for Derrick White. It was the most combined threes by teammates in a game in history. They went 19 of 33 from three. That's insane. And it somehow feels less insane than it looked when you were watching it. I mean, it was playground shit. They were just throwing up rainbows and everything was going in. And I'm not talking about just banking in or getting that lucky Celtic Red Auerbach bounce on the rim. Like, these things couldn't have been placed any better through the basket. These things would have been good on those carnival baskets that only fit one basketball in them. It was just insane to watch. Like, this is what I mean when I say when the Celtics are at their best, it's a privilege to watch. Like, it's like watching, a great Best Picture Oscar from the 70s. Like, it's just perfect when it's going right. And right now, it's going very right. In a game where you didn't have Jason Tatum, load management, took the night off. You get this kind of performance. How many times can I tell you, like in a game this year, that, oh yeah, Jason Tatum's not going to play, and two Celtics are going to score 40 points? You'd be like, wow, that's pretty amazing. But then I tell you that Jaylen Brown's not one of them. I mean, talk about this game last night made me so thankful for this organization. And I really hope they go on to win more than just the one title from last year. Obviously, that was a great one. But when you look at what they have built with this thing, it's deserving of more, because this looks like a dynastic, just the moves they've made, right? Like, I think people were ready to see Payton Pritchard go 2 years ago. Not that they didn't like the player, but it was like, well, the guy wants out and he's not going to be the starting point guard. So you might as well. And there were certainly people who were livid when Brad Stevens traded for Derrick White. A first-round pick for this guy, plus you're letting Richardson go and Romeo Langford, this guy you're putting so much into. It worked. It worked. And if you look at the last 10 years, which is mostly Danny, but also some Brad in there too, because Brad's definitely made the moves, the trades, the signings that have been huge. But you look at Danny too. Outside of the top 3 in the NBA draft, it's a total crapshoot. And I don't think there's been anyone who's drafted outside of the top 10 or outside of the lottery quite as well as the Celtics have. Maybe Miami, but the Celtics, when you look at the last 10 years, and just think about guys like Rob Williams, Terry Rozier, Payton Pritchard. Payton Pritchard was in the 20s. What was he, number 20, I think? Like, that's already, and guys at the end of your bench that can contribute over the next couple of years with guys like Jordan Walsh and Baylor Shireman. Those guys are not going to be studs. They're not even going to be what Payton Pritchard and Rob Williams were for the Celtics. But you know what I mean? Like, they just don't draft like just useless guys anymore. That kind of ended with Carson Edwards and Romeo Langford and guys like that, Gershon Yabusele. They have hit on these out of lottery picks better than almost anybody. And now, I mean, Payton Pritchard, you're looking at the 6th man of the year in the NBA. Who's gonna take it from him? Look at the way that his game has elevated. This is a guy coming off the bench. Like, they have 2 point guards in the starting 5. He's obviously had to step up with Drew Holiday being hurt. But they have 2 point guards in the starting five and a good point forward, good enough point forward in Jason Tatum, and a guy who can also handle the ball in Jaylen Brown now. And so Payton Pritchard is strictly on the green team, the second team out there. And still, this year, he's giving you 14.5 points a game, giving you 3.5 assists, shooting 48% from the floor, shooting 42% from three, and is capable of a night like this. And these two guys and that performance they had against Portland, it's just the epitome of what this Celtics iteration is. If it's not you, it's me, but always we kind of thing, right? Like, it's anyone on any given night that could give it to you. Most of the nights, it's going to be Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown. But then there are going to be Derrick White nights. There are going to be Drew Holiday nights. There are going to be Al Horford nights. There are going to be Payton Pritchard nights. Shit, man, they had a Jaden Springer night against the Clippers. Right? Like, there's all these guys that are capable of Porzingis. I didn't even mention Porzingis. Porzingis will give it to you. He didn't play last night. You know, by the way, Pritchard was 26th, the 26th pick in the draft. He just turned 27. Oh, what a valuable asset. Think of how many teams would kill for a guy like that. Now think of how many playoff teams would kill for a guy like that. All of them. And anyone in the world would take Derrick White on their team. Anybody. The guys just don't put a foot wrong. And it's going to be these guys that are the reason, if they repeat, that's going to be the reason why. And that's no disrespect to the stars, but everyone knows about Tatum and Porzingis and Brown, Holiday. And to be quite fair, like a lot of these other contenders, of how many contenders there are, who knows? But a lot of these true contenders have casts like that. But the reason why Denver didn't repeat last year and doesn't look like the contender this year is because they don't have a bench. It's probably going to be the downfall of Cleveland. They don't have a bench. Celtics can bring a guy who can drop 40 on you like that right off the bench. No team has that kind of luxury. If the Celtics repeat, it's going to be because of nights like these that Payton Pritchard can give you, that Derrick White can give you, that Drew Holiday will be able to give you once the playoffs start, because what a PTPer he is. History from Payton Pritchard and Derrick White. That, my friends, epitomizes the Brad Stevens, Joe Mazzulla, Boston Celtics. So whomever's going to come in and buy this team, as long as those guys are in place and Brad Stevens is running the show, we're in a good spot, Celtics fans. We're in a very good spot, and it's one that you should not take for granted. One thing I don't take for granted is those of you who watch the show every day. We're here live at high noon Eastern time every weekday, and then wherever you get your podcast. I appreciate the shit out of you guys. And I hope you'll follow us on YouTube, like and subscribe, get notified every time we drop a video, because not only do we do the full show, we do the segments as well to give you the bite-sized information that you're wanting every single weekday.
We are Rogue Media Sports.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. And if you like this video, be sure to give us a like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel a ton. You can follow me on Twitter here for some more outrageous Boston sports takes coming to you every weekday at noon Eastern time. And then after that, wherever you get your podcasts.
We are Rogue Media Sports.